thing about fear. It can really sound logical, practical. It can sound like it's protecting you. But fear has a very specific voice, and intuition is different from that. Fear says, you don't need to be seen. Play it small. Be humble. What will people think? This cannot make any sense. Intuition says, I need this. I trust myself. This feels right. In my last video, I told you that I would be setting an intention for my Cleveland solo sanctuary for the March equinox. And the questions started rolling in. My comments, my DMs, and people in my real life. Aren't you scared? Why Cleveland? What are you gonna do for 6 days? And at first, I thought these were practical questions. People wanting information, wanting to understand. But then I realized these actually were not questions. They were fears disguised as practical concerns. Fears pretending to be logic. And if you've ever thought of or wanted to take a solo trip for yourself, but you talked yourself out of it, I guarantee these same fears came up for you. So today I'm breaking down 5 fear-based questions that people often ask me. I'm going to tell you how to know the difference between fear and intuition when planning your solo sanctuary. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee this. Here's the thing about fear. It can really sound logical, practical. It can sound like it's protecting you. But fear has a very specific voice, and intuition is different from that. Fear says, you don't need to be seen. Play it small. Be humble. What will people think? This cannot make any sense. Intuition says, I need this. I trust myself. This feels right. I feel fear in my belly. Fear can get loud and it can be frantic. I remember a phase in my life many years ago when I really realized how much fear I was living in. And I woke up one morning and I literally said to myself, what am I worrying about today? And that was really a wake-up call about how much fear I had really been existing in every single day of my life. And I was actually on travel when I had that epiphany. It wasn't a solo trip, but I was outside of my normal environment, and that's part of what travel offers us, is new perspectives. Intuition is quiet and it feels very certain if we learn to listen to it. Fear sounds like everyone else, whereas intuition sounds like you. It may only make sense to you, or it may not even make sense to you, and that's okay. So let me get into it and let me walk you through these 5 questions and show you like what's really underneath it. Question 1 that I've been getting a lot is, isn't it cold in Cleveland in March? Yeah, it is. Maybe rain, snow, definitely not beach weather. And when people ask me this, what they're really saying is, why aren't you going someplace warm, beautiful, someplace that's social media worthy, someplace that makes sense? This is fear described as practicality. Fear says the conditions are not perfect. You need the perfect place for this to work. But my intuition said the destination isn't doing the work. I am, and I can create a sanctuary anywhere. And so here's the truth. I don't need the perfect weather. I don't need the exotic locale. I don't need those Instagram-worthy conditions. I need to prove to myself that transformation doesn't need a beautiful backdrop. And in fact, sometimes that beautiful backdrop can get in the way of transformation. Clock it. So Cleveland in March is perfect for me because it's stripping away all that external validation, all those expectations, and it's forcing me to trust that the sanctuary isn't just the place, it's me. So yeah, it'll be cold and I'm going anyway because my intuition knows that discomfort, doing something new, different, that's part of the work. Question 2, well, why not go somewhere else and then go to Cleveland? Because remember, I have an appointment in Cleveland in that time frame. You could go to Miami first, then just do a little quick stop in Cleveland, then go home. So what is that about? This is fear described as optimization. Fear says, hedge your bets, make it make sense. Don't go all in on something that sounds that weird. Don't spend money to stay that long in a cold locale. But intuition said, this is what the universe offered me, and I made this decision based on alignment. Cleveland is the sanctuary, not the compromise, not a stopover, not a reason to be busy, but the whole thing. And here's what I learned because I do it and I tried to do it with this trip. When you start adding conditions to your yes, maybe I should also do this. Maybe I should just do that, make it a shorter trip. You're negotiating yourself down. Don't do that. Don't dilute the intention. When I was doing that, I was making it more about the destination instead of the commitment to my own transformation. My intuition said, Cleveland in March. That's what I'm doing. Fear wants me to make it make sense to more people, when in reality, it only needs to make sense to me. Question 3, are you traveling alone? Is that safe? And this is a big one. This is the question everyone asks, and I get it. As women, we are conditioned to be cautious for our own safety. Always have a buddy system. And this is where it can get tricky. I don't want to misconstrue this. Sometimes safety concerns are wisdom, and sometimes they're disguised as fear. And I want to be really clear about something. Your intuition absolutely speaks up to keep you safe. I was saying that I feel that fear in my gut. It's important to identify where you feel your fear, because that helped me to realize how often I was in fear. But now that my nervous system is more regulated, I know when I feel that fear in my gut, so I absolutely pay attention and act on it. So if that gut instinct says, don't go down that street, something feels off about this person, I listen. And that's intuition protecting you. How do you tell the difference between protective intuition and limiting fear? Protective intuition is specific. It will say, not that location, not that Airbnb, not that person. It's about a specific situation or a choice. Limiting fear is more general. It's the concept buried in those questions of don't go anywhere alone. Is solo travel safe? The whole world is dangerous. Limiting fear is about shutting down the whole possibility. And having that regulated nervous system really helps you to tell the difference. Because when we are in nervous system dysregulation, we're in fight or flight all the time. Everything feels like a threat. And so you can't tell what's real danger and what's anxiety. But when your nervous system is regulated, you hear the difference, you feel the difference. And you learn this by acting on your intuition, seeing what happens, and by noticing what happens when you don't listen to it. And then you can build that discernment over time. So here's my honest answer about Cleveland. Yes, I am traveling alone. Now, does that mean I will be alone the entire time? Probably not. Yes, I've taken precautions. I've researched the area. That's the great thing about traveling solo, gives you options. I've shared my itinerary with my loved ones, and I'll have dedicated check-in times. My intuition has guided every one of these choices, and it says you're ready, you're safe, you trust yourself. 4, what are you gonna do there for all these days? This question is actually my favorite because it reveals the deeper fear. This one is fear disguised as practicality. If you don't have a plan, won't you be bored? You'll waste the trip. You'll just sit there feeling lonely, awkward, uncomfortable. And you know what? That is a valid fear. And that has happened to women I know who have been inspired to travel solo but didn't have a framework. That's where Solo Sanctuaries was born. They told me I didn't know what to do. I was scrolling my phone, or I went and sat at the bar to have people to talk to. It was awkward, and I came back the same. They had the time, they had the space, they had the courage, but they didn't have the framework to hold them while they were there. And so here's where intuition comes in. My intuition says I need structure and processes. I need a framework that supports me without overwhelming me. So yes, I do have a plan. It's not an itinerary, but it is a framework. I have my intentions, my journal prompts, meditations, practices like solo dinners, morning rituals, intentional walks, time in nature, nervous system work, breathing practices, grounding practices, ways to move from fight or flight to rest and restore. Because here's what I know, that nervous system practice in Cleveland, I bring that back with me and it becomes my new baseline. Fear says you need to feel every moment or it'll be wasted. Intuition says spaciousness is the point. That's the work. And all of that framework is what I teach and provide in my 6-week guided experience. Because most women need that container, that structure that holds the transformation. And the last question I've been getting is question 5. Why Cleveland? Why not Paris, Bali? At least go to Miami. And this is pure fear disguised as logic. If you're gonna do this, at least make it worth your while. At least go somewhere people will understand and that you've always dreamed of going to. But intuition says this is about proving to myself and more importantly, my community, that you don't need an exotic location to transform. Transformation through solo sanctuaries is very accessible. You can do it in your own city. Most women are actually going to do exactly what I'm doing. Turn a necessary trip into something intentional. You can take a staycation, turn it into a solo sanctuary. Drive to a beautiful cabin in the woods just a few hours away. It's cost effective, it's doable, it's accessible. Fear says if it's impressive, then it doesn't count. Intuition says if I can transform in Cleveland in March, which I know I will, then I can transform anywhere. And that's the point. And that's why Cleveland matters. So those have been the top 5 questions, but really, they're the top 5 fears. And here's what I want you to hear. Fear is always going to show up. It's always going to have questions. It's always going to sound logical, practical, protective even. But we have to learn to tell the difference between intuition and fear. Because fear will keep you safe. Intuition will set you free. So here's my question for you. What fear-based question are you asking yourself right now that's stopping you from choosing yourself? Drop it in the comments. Call it out. Bring it out of the shadows so we can look at it together. And if you're ready to learn how to trust your intuition, plan your solo sanctuary, and stop letting fear drive your decisions, then join the waitlist for my live guided experience. I'll teach you the framework. I'll give you the practices, the nervous system reset tools, how to tell the difference between fear and intuition, how to plan your trip, prepare for your solo sanctuary, and most importantly, how to transform and how to integrate when you return. Because the women who transform aren't the ones without any fear. They're the ones who choose their intuition over their fears. The link is in the description. Join the waitlist. And remember, the journey is always back to you.